Hello, everyone, and welcome to the conclusion of our reading of the Swiss Family Robinson. The final chapter, 3 Cheers for New Switzerland. Let's get started. Toward evening, the universal excitement began to abate, and the party assembled for supper with tolerable composure. Mr. Ralston was able to join us, as the rest he had enjoyed, and the pleasure inspired by the hope of a residence among us seemed to have given him new life. This wish he now distinctly expressed in his own name, and in that of his wife, inquiring what our intentions were, and proposing, if agreeable to us, that they, with their eldest daughter, whose health, like his own, was delicate, should make a long stay on the island, while the younger daughter went for the present to her brother at the Cape of Good Hope. In the event of his ultimately deciding to settle altogether among us, Mr. Ralston would propose that his son should leave the Cape and join our colony. With sincere satisfaction, I welcomed this proposal, saying that it was my wish and that of my wife to remain for the rest of our days in New Switzerland. Hurrah for New Switzerland! New Switzerland forever! Shouted the whole company enthusiastically, as they raised their glasses and made them touch with a musical ring which so expressively denotes a joyful unanimity of sentiment. Prosperity to New Switzerland! Long may she flourish! Echoed on all sides. Long life and happiness to those who make New Switzerland their home, added Ernest to my great surprise, leaning forward as he spoke to ring his glass with mine, his mother's, and Mr. Ralston's. Won't somebody wish long life and prosperity to those who go away? Inquired Jenny with a pretty, arch look. Much as I long to return to England and my father, my inclination will waver if all the cheers are for New Switzerland. 3 cheers for England and Colonel Montrose, cried Fritz. Success and happiness to us who return to Europe. And while the vaulted roofs rang with the cheering elicited by this toast, a glance from Jenny showed him how much she thanked him for appreciating her wish to return to her father, notwithstanding her attachment to our family. Well, said I, when silence was restored, since Fritz resolved to go to England, he must undertake for me the duty of bringing happiness to a mourning father by restoring to him this dear daughter, whom I have been ready to regard as my own by right of her being cast on the shores of my island. Ernest chooses to remain with me. His mother and I rejoice heartily in this decision and promise him all the highest scientific appointments in our power to bestow. And now, what is Jack's choice? The only talent I can say he possesses is that of a comic actor, and to shine on the stage he must needs go to Europe. Jack is not going to Europe, however, was his reply. He means to stay here, and when Fritz is gone, he will be the best rider and the best shot in New Switzerland, which is the summit of his ambition. The fact is, he continued laughing, I rather stand in awe of their European schoons and should expect to find myself caught and clapped into one if I ventured too near them. A good schoon is exactly what I want, said Franz. Among a number of students, there is some emulation and enthusiasm, and I shall have a chance of rising in the world. Fritz will probably return here someday, but it might be well for one member of the family to go home with the intention of remaining there altogether. And as I am the youngest, I could more easily than the rest adapt myself to a different life. My father, however, will decide for me. You may go, my dear son, I replied, and God bless all our plans and resolutions. The whole earth is the Lord's, and where, as in his sight, you lead good and useful lives, there is your home. And now that I know your wishes, the only question is whether Captain Littlestone will kindly enable you to carry them out. All eyes were fixed eagerly upon him, and after a moment's pause, the gallant officer spoke as follows. I think my way in this matter is perfectly clear, and I consider that I have been providentially guided to be the means of once more placing this family in communication with their friends and with the civilized world. My orders were to search for a shipwrecked crew. Survivors from two wrecks have been discovered. Three passengers express a wish to leave my ship here instead of at the Cape, while at the same time I am requested to give to three persons a passage to England. Could anything suit better? I am most willing to undertake the charge of those who may be committed to my care. Every circumstance has been wonderfully ordered and linked together by divine providence, and if England gains a prosperous and happy colony, it will prove a fitting clasp to this fortune chain of events. Three cheers for New Switzerland. Deep emotion stirred every heart as the party separated for the night. Many felt that they were suddenly standing on the threshold of a new life, while for myself a weight was rolled from my heart, and I thanked God that a difficulty was solved which for years had oppressed me with anxiety. After this, nothing was thought of but making preparations for the departure of the dear ones bound for England. Captain Littlestone allowed as much time as he could spare, but it was necessarily short so that incessant movements and industry pervaded the settlement for several days. Everything was provided and packed up that could in any way add to our children's comfort on the voyage or benefit them after their arrival in England, and a large share of my possessions in pearls, corals, furs, spices, and other valuables would enable them to take a good position in the world of commerce. I committed to their care private papers, money, and jewels which I knew to have been the personal property of the captain of our ill-fated ship, desiring them to hand over, if possible, to his heirs a short account of the wreck with the names of the crew, a list of which I had found was given to Captain Littlestone. Fritz, having previously made known to me what indeed was very evident, the attachment between himself and Jenny, I advised him to mention it to Colonel Montrose as soon as possible after being introduced to him, and asked for his sanction to their engagement. I, on my part, gladly bestowed mine, as did his mother, who loved the sweet girl dearly and heartily grieved to part with her. On the evening before our separation, I gave to Fritz the journal in which, ever since the shipwreck, I had chronicled the events of our life, desiring that the story might be printed and published. It was written, as you well know, said I, for the instruction and amusement of my children, but it is very possible that it may be useful to other young people, more especially to boys. Children are, on the whole, very much alike everywhere, and you four lads fairly represent multitudes who are growing up in all directions. It will make me happy to think that my simple narrative may lead some of these to observe how blessed are the results of patient continuance in wrongdoing what benefits arise from the thoughtful application of knowledge and science, and how good and pleasant a thing it is when brethren dwell together in unity under the eye of parental love. Night has closed around me. For the last time, my united family slumbers beneath my care. Tomorrow, this closing chapter of my journey will pass into the hands of my eldest son. From afar, I greet thee, Europe. I greet thee, dear old Switzerland. Like thee, may New Switzerland flourish and prosper, good, happy, and free. Thus ends the story. What will be next time? Oh, something by Robert Louis Stevenson. No, that's all the information you're getting. I'll see you then.